Hello, it's Dave at Focus Fitness, and I want to take some time to talk to you about my journey with fitness and how I got where I am. It's going to be a three-part series here. The first part is part one. It's sort of the early years. I look at these years sort of being junior high to like mid-20s, like right around the end of college for me. So I was kind of a husky kid. I was active enough, I guess. I did PE and in school, but I did a little bit of organized sports. I did like soccer when I was super tiny, but probably between the ages of like 6 and college, I didn't have any desire to do any sports at all. I played some basketball like with my friends after school, but I wasn't even really good at that. About the time I turned about 15, 16 and hormones started coming in and the body starts kind of changing, I started thinking to myself, I'm a little bit thicker than other kids around me. Now, mind you, this was the mid-90s, early 90s. I wasn't really that big, but compared to some of my friends that were, getting muscular and lean and all that, and I wanted to just sort of look good because that's when the hormones are raging, and I'm like thinking I want to, attract someone, romantically or whatever. So I started exercising, and I would come home from school, and I would get on my dad's exercise cycle, and I would ride that for like 20 minutes, and I would do 50 push-ups and 100 crunches, and that was it. I did that for about a year, and I also went vegetarian because that's when Greenpeace was a big thing, and I was very much like save the whales, and I'm gonna be vegetarian. So for a year, I went vegetarian, and I worked out at home just doing exercise cycle, push-ups, and crunches, and I got super skinny, and people thought I was sick or something, but I felt really good, and I looked like a normal sort of 16, 17, 18-year-old guy, and all the girls thought I was cute, and that made me feel good. So I went to college, and that kind of stayed the same way. But into college, I started getting a little bit of like anxiety, depression stuff, and still sort of very focused on exercise at that age because, by this time I really wanted to keep working out because I kind of wanted to get big. I was like, let's do some bodybuilding, let's get beefy, and let's obviously continue to stay good looking for all those college girls or whatever. But I moved a few thousand miles away from home, then I moved back home, and I moved down to Austin, and I was going to school, and it was just college. I mean, if sort of the 18 to 22 years are kind of weird time, so I was dealing with some blues and some ups and downs, so exercise kind of became an anchor for me. And so for most of, the years of, say, like 15 to like 22, a lot of it for me was using exercise for vanity's sake, for getting stronger, right? I wanted to get stronger. I want to put on muscle, but I wanted to look better. And there was a component of it there that I didn't realize until later was sort of how important it was for my mood. So I was sort of starting to struggle with some depression, anxiety. I was starting to go talk to some people about it and get some treatment for that. But I didn't correlate the effect that exercise was going to have on that. And that really came through in the second phase of my life. Hey, Cindy, what's up? You're asking me some questions. I'm missing your questions. You said, so what changed? So I don't know where. But by the time I was out of college, I was starting to work out. And so that's kind of like the second part of the story that I'll just get into a little bit, was that then I started working. Well, then I started putting on a lot of weight, and I started eating a bunch of crap, and exercise didn't really, it wasn't really a priority anymore. So what changed? Cindy asked, what changed with my relationship with exercise? I would say that, I guess I don't get the question. I'm sorry. What changed, but like from when I was in high school to college, or like from college until adulthood? I was working out when I was younger. again, for sort of mainly for vanity's sake. So, I see it in 3 phases. I see like the early years, it was a lot about vanity. And I think a lot of us come to fitness because we want to, get more attractive, right? We want to look good naked. We want to have muscles and, get stronger, like having athletic goals. I think having aspirations, physical aspirations is, a little bit for vanity too. Like we want to feel strong and we want to do more and be better. And I think that's fine. And then, but then there was that bridge for me. That second phase for me was, again, I was working. I was like in the workforce. I stopped working out. I put on 20, 30 pounds. I was in the relationship that became, my marriage. And so at that point, exercise was it just didn't take a priority. And I think to a certain degree, my mood started to falter a little bit with that. It was just harder to find time to do it. I didn't make it a priority. I was actually working really, really hard at a job that I didn't really enjoy super much. And so I think that made it hard. Exercise took a back burner, and subsequently, like it was the downward spiral of then I put on weight, then my mood was funky, and then that made my just job satisfaction less. And so I got out of a funky job situation. I got back into, that's when I made the career switch into fitness. And so that's sort of like what I see as the first phase for me, is making fitness a priority, realizing that I did have a calling for it. I did want to reach out and connect to people, for those vanity reasons, right? Like we want to lose fat. We want to be strong. And that's great. And it's when I started to correlate the fact that my happiness could also be attributed to fitness, that's really what changed for me. And that's really what I kind of want to leave dangling as a carrot for part 2 of the story, because I don't want to make a super long Facebook Live video here. But I see some phases in my life being, going from younger and caring about being strong and looking good, which I still care about those things, don't get me wrong, but that was more important when I was younger. And now as I'm older, I'm more concerned with feeling better, being pain-free, injury-free, and also the mental aspects of it. But I'll get into that in part 2, which is gonna come at y'all tomorrow. So thanks for hanging out and watching this video. I hope it's been a little bit interesting. Stay tuned for part 2 on my story and feeling better. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Hey, Calvin Richard. Bye.